Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive. Today, our mission is basically to unpack some source materials that one of our listeners, actually shared with us.
Yeah, and this one's really practical, I think. We're focusing on key interview questions, specifically for a quality control specialist role. QC specialists.
Exactly. And the main source we're digging into is an article from Kaplan. It's titled Six Quality Control Specialist, QC Specialist, Interview Questions. And it makes a really strong point right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Finding the right person for that QC role. It's absolutely vital today, especially for companies trying to keep up high standards, product quality, compliance, all that crucial stuff.
It really is. It's more than just ticking boxes, isn't it? It's finding someone who's genuinely going to be a guardian of quality in the organization.
Totally. So our goal here is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the essential questions, the article flags as, well, the most common ones.
Right.
And maybe more importantly, dig into what kind of experience, what kind of knowledge the source suggests is really key. So, whether you're prepping for an interview yourself or maybe you're on the hiring side.
Yeah, this should give you a bit of an edge. The source, it sort of promises insights into assessing critical skills, technical know-how, and those behavioral competencies too.
The things that really matter in QC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Helping candidates show what they know and helping managers, well, find that right fit.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump into this guide then. Let's unpack these questions the article says are the most common.
Yeah, let's do it. And what's interesting, I think, is how when you look at them all together, they sort of paint a picture.
A picture. How so?
Well, of the ideal QC person, right? It moves from like foundational knowledge, then into applying it with problem solving.
Right.
And finally showing you actually made a difference, real impact.
Oh, I like that framing. That makes sense. So, okay, starting with that foundation, the first question the source highlights is, can you discuss your experience with quality control processes and procedures?
Right. And this isn't just asking if you've read the textbook. The source really stresses extensive hands-on experience here.
Hands-on.
Yeah. A good understanding of quality management systems, definitely, but specifically practical experience, implementing them, maintaining them day to day in a real workplace.
And it ports to those core tasks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like performing inspections, doing audits, running tests, all to make sure things comply with the standards, the regulations.
That's the bread and butter, really, the baseline stuff.
Definitely the baseline.
Yeah.
So moving on from that baseline, the second question gets a bit more analytical, you can say.
Data time.
Can you discuss your experience with statistical process control, SPC, and process capability analysis?
SPC. Yeah, the source gets pretty specific. It's looking for direct experience using these tools.
Right.
And it wants to hear about a solid understanding of the techniques involved. It actually lists control charts and process mapping specifically.
Okay, so knowing the tools.
Well, yes, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. It's not just about knowing the tools. The goal, according to the source, is having experience analyzing the data that comes out of them.
Okay.
Spotting trends, using those insights to actually, improve how things work, make the process better, reduce variability.
So it's using the data proactively, not just reporting, here's a number, but here's what the number means and here's how we fix it.
Exactly. That's the key distinction. It's, like you said, being more than just a scorekeeper. You're influencing the game.
Yeah, I see that. Which kind of naturally leads into their third question, doesn't it?
It does. Can you discuss your experience with problem solving and root cause analysis?
Building right on finding those issues with SBC? Maybe.
Precisely. And again, the emphasis is on practical experience. The source wants to know you understand and have used common tools here. It mentions the 5 whys.
Oh, yeah, the class.
And fishbone diagrams, Ishikawa diagrams.
Right. And the goal is pretty clear. Show you can identify problems effectively, figure out how to resolve them, and this bit's crucial, implement corrective action so they don't happen again, preventing recurrence. That's huge in QC, right?
Absolutely fundamental, stopping the same fire from starting over and over.
Okay. So question 4 shifts gears a little bit, brings in the more structured side of things.
Yeah, the system level. Can you discuss your experience with quality management systems, QMS, and certifications such as ISO 9000?
So experience with frameworks like QMS, and specifically certifications like ISO 9001, the article points out experience in implementing and maintaining these systems.
Right. And also being part of certification audits. preparing for them, participating in them.
That really tests if you understand the big picture, the whole systemic approach to quality.
Exactly. You need a good grasp of what ISO 9001 or other QMS standards actually require. It shows you understand the kind of scaffolding that holds all the other QC work together.
Scaffolding, that's a good word for it.
Hmm.
Okay, number 5. This one gets down to the nitty-gritty, the actual tools you use.
The physical stuff, yeah. Can you discuss your experience with inspection, testing, and measurement equipment?
And the source stresses hands-on experience again here. Not just being familiar, but actually selecting the right gear, using it properly.
And maintaining it, too. That's important.
Right. And it gets even more specific, mentioning things like performing calibration and validation on that equipment.
Which isn't just, knowing the buttons to press.
No.
It requires that deeper knowledge, doesn't it? Understanding the principles of measurement itself and how things like measurement uncertainty can throw off your results.
Because if your measurements aren't trustworthy, well, what's the point?
Exactly. The whole thing falls apart.
Okay, so that brings us to the last one, number 6. And this one feels like it pulls everything together.
It really does. Can you discuss a specific example of a quality improvement project you have led and the results achieved?
This is where you stop just describing skills and you start showcasing actual impact, right?
Absolutely. It's the show me question. The article even gives a good example scenario, like leading a project to improve product quality, specifically by cutting down defects.
And the example neatly ties back to the earlier questions,
Yeah.
showing how you might use tools like statistical process control, SPC, and root cause analysis to find and fix the underlying reasons for those defects.
Exactly. Applying the methods we've just talked about.
And then, crucially, showing the results. The example mentions things like reducing the defect rate by, say, 30%. Something concrete.
Quantifiable results.
Yeah.
And improving customer satisfaction as a consequence.
No.
So, yeah, this question is really the acid test. Can you take all that knowledge, all that experience, and actually use it to make things tangibly better?
Prove you can move the needle.
That's it. Prove you can make a difference.
Yeah.
The source also adds a useful little note here. It mentions that these skills aren't just for a QC specialist title. They're relevant across a bunch of related jobs.
Like what?
Well, it lists chemistry QC analyst or technician, lab analyst technician roles, microbiology lab analyst QC technician, even various quality assurance roles. QA analyst, associate, auditor, lab tech, specialist.
Ah, okay. So it's showing that these QC principles are pretty foundational across the whole quality field, not just one specific job title.
Right. It broadens the applicability quite a bit.
That makes sense. Okay, so let's pull back for a second. This deep dives into the Kaplan article. It's given us a pretty clear framework, hasn't it? Straight from the source, what's seen as essential for a QC specialist.
Yeah, definitely. We've covered those 6 common questions. They hit on, basic processes, data analysis, problem-solving methods.
System standards like ISO 9001, handling the equipment.
And wrapping it all up with demonstrating real project impact.
Understanding these key areas and kind of knowing what the interviewer might be listening for, that's got to be a big help.
Oh, absolutely. It's a shortcut, really, to feeling better prepared, more informed, whether you're the one answering the questions or asking them.
Yeah, it gives you that roadmap. So now, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on after this deep dive. If quality control is really all about continuous improvement, right, and preventing problems from happening again, how does the actual process of preparing for these interviews or conducting them, how does that reflect that same ongoing cycle instead of it just being a one-off hiring event?
That's an interesting thought. Like, is the interview itself part of the quality process?
Maybe. And thinking about all these skills we discussed, what single skill, maybe highlighted by one of these questions, really stands out to you as the absolute most critical for someone to succeed in a QC role today? Something to ponder.